Jones, and I want to welcome you tonight. Thank you for joining us, for jumping on, those of you who have jumped on, and for those of you who will be jumping on. I'll try and make sure that I see you and acknowledge you. Again, I'm the host of Ask Pastor Tim. My lovely daughter will be joining me here tonight as co-host, and we are going, there she is. Hello, Jewel.
Hi.
Can you hear me good?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Let me turn up my volume just a little bit. There we go. All right. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking tonight about the future and where we are in regards to the future, where our thoughts are, where our feelings are, how, what information are we carrying or holding or believing about the future. And we just kind of want to discuss that, have a conversation about it tonight. I feel like I have some insight on the future and how you may want to show up. But I'm interested to know what you might think. How are you even thinking about how you're going to show up the next 5, 10, 15 years? Are you thinking ahead like that? Or are you one of those who have gotten inundated with everything that's going on right now in the world, and you just kind of, still trying to find your balance, still trying to find your way, still trying to figure it out, still trying to reimagine. There are people who are still trying to reimagine what their life is going to be like after COVID, in this new day that we're in, this new season, this new era, this new time. And so we want to have a conversation about those types of things here tonight. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to get out of the way first of all. Jewel, you doing okay? How are you?
I'm doing okay. Doing good.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. You had a good busy day, good busy productive day.
It was productive getting stuff done around the house, but it was productive.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, mine was too. All right, very good. So I see some of you who jumped on here. Thank you again, and welcome to the 7 of you who have joined us. Shoot a text to someone, man. Send them a message. Tell them to come jump on. Everyone wants to know about the future. You don't want to be one of those who ignore the signs of the time. You don't want to be one of those who are unaware of what's going on and what's going to happen, what things we are poised for, what types of things we can expect. You kind of want to have an idea about that so that you can position yourself properly. You don't want to be blindsided by things and by events. There's already going to be, there's already the element of the unknown that comes into play. I've learned to embrace the unknown, and I feel like in this season, more of us need to be able to position ourselves in a way that we can embrace the unknown so that we can show up and be productive in our tomorrows. So that's kind of the platform that I want to launch from here tonight. Joe, you got some good questions for me, man?
I don't know. It's the future, so it's unpredictable. I think I have a couple, and then we'll see how we flow based on responses. But I have a couple.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, I think there's a lot going on in the world, and it can seem like there isn't really a way to be prepared. We don't really know exactly what's coming. Obviously, we have, the Bible, we have certain instruction and things that will come as we, are nearing the end of days. But in general, like you just mentioned, it seems like a lot of surprises and a lot of uncertainty. So, I mean, I would just start out asking, like, how can we be prepared? How should we be positioning ourselves, like, for the future?
Yeah, and that's a great place to start. When I think about that question, I think about, when I'm talking to people, especially if I'm dealing with someone or dealing with one or more individuals who are seeing things differently, even seeing them differently from myself showing up. You know, if we're dealing with the differences of viewpoints, I don't so much deal with the opinions, because many times the opinions, people rely on their opinion because they have no viewpoint. Okay. And so, I like to gather people's viewpoint to see where they're coming from. And sometimes what happens is that we can be locked into our own viewpoint without understanding the significance of our real viewpoint, what we really think and how we really feel, and what, you know, the realities, not just the realities of what's happening in the world, but the realities of what we have to offer that will make things better. Sometimes we're looking at it from the standpoint of, man, how can I do? How's this going to happen? You know, you look at what's going to be happening to you rather than how you are going to happen to everything else. Here's what we know. We know that every human being who is born into the earth is born into the earth at the time that they are born into the earth, because they bring something with them that will contribute to mankind, to the progression of mankind. We know that every person is relevant in terms of their existence. Okay. Now, they may not live relevantly because they don't understand who they are or don't understand why they're here, which is why I talk about that so much. Understanding who you are, understanding why are you on this planet. That's not just a question that, oh, that's one of those questions that you ask people, but you never really get an answer. No, we need to know, we need to have a sense of, why am I here on this planet? Because everything has to do with purpose. So I drill down on that point, because that's really the only way that we can have any kind of, I'm going to use this word loosely, control, okay, over what happens in our future. Obviously, we can't control what other people do. We can't control how someone else shows up, but we have a great say in how we show up in the future. So you may say, well, how am I going to show up? How am I supposed to show up? Great question. And that's where you begin that process of figuring it, because you can't predict the future, but you can predict yours. You can predict how you show up. Okay. So when you know or have a sense of who you are and what you're carrying, you have a sense of your worth. Okay. You can't approach or go into tomorrow, the future, without having a sense of your worth, because you will be lost. Okay. You have to have a sense of your worth, what you're bringing to the table that nobody else brings to the table. And that can be a hard thing for people sometimes, because we so easily compare ourselves to others and see people who are better at this and better at that, and they look better and they sound better and they dress better, and we compare. Well, what if we stop comparing to others and just compare who we are to who we are designed to be? There's a comparison for you. Okay. Who am I right now? How am I showing up in the world right now versus my potential to show up differently or to show up better, right? And so if we begin there, that's my encouragement to people, is to begin in that place. What is it that you have in your hand? What are you showing up with that's going to make today and tomorrow better? What are you bringing to the table? What solution are you carrying? What answers do you have? What problems are you aimed at? These are the kinds of questions that when you answer those, now you begin to dictate, not predict, but dictate what your tomorrow, what your future will look like.
So and we've talked about this because it's your thing. But, you know, for anybody who may still have the question, and sometimes for me, what do you do? Let me phrase it correctly. How do I find that? How do I find what I'm aimed at? How do I find what problem I'm here to solve? How do I find that?
So the best way to do that is to have a coach, someone who can help guide you. Okay. And the reason why I say have a coach is because how will you know when you find it if you don't know what you're looking for? If you don't know what it looks like or what it's supposed to look like? And that's the problem that a lot of people have. They don't know what it's supposed to look like. So they don't really know when they find it. And so they never really lock into it. Most people already know. They just have not acknowledged it, or they don't recognize that as being the thing that's actually unique about them. So having a coach is paramount in that. If you don't have access to a coach, okay, one of the easiest, well, I say easy, it's not easy, but everyone has the ability to self-reflect. Okay, self-reflection is you sitting in your own space, okay, your own uninterrupted space, all right, and allowing yourself to meditate on what you have to offer. Well, I don't have anything to offer. Well, let's think a little farther along about that. Of course you do. You have some gift. You have some talent. You have some ability. And you have to look at that without comparing it to someone else's. You got to look at what you bring. What is there that you bring to the table? And the reason why I say you need a coach is because the coach will help you to find that quicker, because it'll help you work through the mental fog that most of us have that will keep us from actually acknowledging the real potential and purposes that's in and on our lives. And so, but that's what you'll want to do if you don't have access to a coach. If you have access to a coach, that's kind of what they're going to help you to do, is to find a way to sit in your space and help you evaluate what it is that you have, what you're bringing to the table, what talent, what ability, what gift. Well, I can write, or I can sing, or I encourage people, or people just, I smile at people and they just always feel better. That's something really big. If you can smile at someone and shift how they're feeling, if you don't know how big that is, you need to talk to me. I'll help you understand how big that is. And my point is that every little thing, if it's unique to you, or it's something that you always show up with, it's significant and it speaks to your purpose. It speaks to your reason for being here on this planet. And so there is a path that will lead you to understanding your purpose, you know. And again, having a coach, they'll help you to get on that path, because most people aren't going to know what that path is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how we can position ourselves, and that's how we can look and see what it is we're here for, what we're aimed at. What is God saying about the future?
So, great question. About, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago or more, I lose track of time sometimes with some of this stuff, but the Lord began to speak to me when we were still in the 20th century. He began to speak to me about the 21st century. Okay? And he gave me what I called God's economy for the 21st century. God's economy for the 21st century was a model. It was a 4-pillar model. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. I just captured it and hung on to it. And, you know, I meditated on it or whatever, but it was years before that thing ever, because we were still in the 20th century when he gave it to me. But here's God's economy for the 21st century. The model is a model that God later told me he wants to use to help particularly his people, to maximize their potential. Okay? How the model that he will use to advance his kingdom. All right? The first leg of that model is personal growth and development. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that is knowing who you are, knowing what you have to offer, and knowing where you fit. In that order, okay? Knowing what you're showing up with, okay? Knowing who you are, and knowing what you have in your hand, it will lead you to knowing where you fit. Because where you fit is where people are who need what you have to offer. Okay, so it all fits together. That's the personal growth and development. That's leg one. Leg two is business development and growth. When you say business, everybody is not going to be a business person. You're right. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what you're bringing to the table. Once you discover what it is that's unique about you that you have to offer to people, it becomes your responsibility to package it in some kind of product or service, some kind of high quality product or service. In other words, you got to give it to people. You got to position it, so that people can take advantage of it if it's something that they need. So that's your responsibility. Nobody's going to do that for you. That's the business development part of it. When you know what you have, now you've got to package it into a high quality product or service. Okay? And you can do that at a job. You can do that at somebody's job because it's a service. Okay? You just got to know what you're bringing to the table and not let anyone shortchange you in terms of what you're worth. Okay? All right. So personal growth and development, business growth and development. The third leg is creative marketing. Okay? It's just what it sounds like. Once you know who you are and what you have that's unique, okay, and you develop it into a high quality product or service, now it becomes your responsibility to get it to those who need and want it. You have to be creative about it. Okay? Well, nowadays things have shifted and changed so much. You really have to, you have to understand certain things about, social media and about online marketing. You got to, I really don't like it, but I have to understand it if I'm going to reach people. Okay? Because that's the season, that's the time that we're in right now. And so you've got to have ways, develop ways, connect with people, co-labor with people who can help you to get what you have to offer to those who need and want it. Okay, so you got personal development, business development, creative marketing, and the last one is investment resource. Okay, this has to do with who are you going to invest your time, talent, your treasure, your energy into. In other words, now that you've gotten to this place, you're far enough in this model and you've developed who you are and your product. Now, who are you going to help to do that to? Because it's all about now helping someone else who don't know what you know to know what you know and helping them to get where you are. So those are the four areas: personal growth, business growth and development, creative marketing, and investment resource. That is a model for what God is saying in the 21st century. Now we are 23 years into the 21st century, but it's still what he's saying. And it's interesting because, 2020 happened and COVID happened and all that stuff happened, and we had to reimagine things. Now people, the trend now is becoming more gig oriented. In other words, people are finding things that they can do to make money instead of just relying on jobs, because the job market has changed and shifted. Right. So people have had to come up with different ways of getting what they need they've had to turn to the resources that they're carrying around. They've had to look inwardly and see what they had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, this is being done, even if it is of necessity, because that's what God's been saying about the 21st century. And that's what he's still saying. Okay. And so we're going to see a lot of things shift and change. Well, let me say that differently. We're going to see a lot of things cease to exist because they're irrelevant. They're no longer useful. And you'll still have people who are still trying to operate in useless things, but it's just not going to be effective, right? You won't be effective and you won't be relevant. And those two words they're vital. They're very important for in every industry. Effective and relevant. Effective and relevant is what will cause you to be productive. Okay? And that's what everyone wants to be, is productive. Okay? CEOs, they want to be productive. Now, they look at it in terms of their bottom line, but that bottom line is representative of their ability to be productive. Okay? So effective at what you do, so that you're not putting yourself out there as a fake and a fraud, well, saying you do something, but then you don't really do that. You can't really deliver on it. Okay? So effective, all right? And then what was it? What was the second one?
Relevant.
See if you're
relevant, right? Relevant.
Relevant. Yes. Relevant. Effective, relevant, and productive. Okay? So that's the model of what God is saying for the 21st century. Now, the question becomes, so what is he saying to me now in regards to that? In other words, where am I in reference to that model, that personal growth, business growth? Where am I? Am I still, am I at the place where I know who I am? I know what I've got in my hand. I haven't quite figured out how to package it or to develop it into a product or service yet. Have I already done that? I just haven't figured out how to get it to the people who want it. Where am I? Or am I still trying to figure out who I am? What he's saying to you now, personally, every individual, you have to discover where you are in that process. Yeah. And wherever you are, that's where you start from. Okay? That's where you start from.
Okay. Let's see where to go from here. That was a lot. That was really good. I think it gives a lot of clarity. And I think speaking to being like effective and also relevant, what would you say when it comes to us as Christians wanting to be the salt and the light? So we want to be separate, but we also, like you said, sometimes that relevant word can be a little tricky. And it's like, well, are we going to be relevant, or are we going to stay biblical? Or can you talk to how those don't have to be separated, and that we can, keep up with the times, if you will, and not stray away from God's original design for us?
Okay. So probably the easiest way to approach that is from this standpoint. Think about a hospital. Okay. So what makes a hospital relevant? Okay. Huh?
Was I supposed to answer? I was going to try.
You have one.
No, go ahead.
What makes a hospital relevant is its ability, okay, to minister to or serve the population that will come through its doors needing what they have to offer. Now, I just chose a hospital, but that's anywhere. Okay. If you have something that someone either needs now, or you have the insight to know that they will need it later, then you are relevant. Okay. Now, there's a difference between being relevant and then trying to appease. That's two different things. Okay. We don't have to be appeasing and likable. Okay. Agreeing. You don't have to be agreeing. Okay. You have to be relevant. Okay. So the person who comes in, and let's say this person has an alcoholic. This person's an alcoholic, right? And when they drink, they do things that endanger themselves. Okay. Obviously, we don't agree, okay, with what they're doing and endangering themselves. But when they come to the hospital, it doesn't matter whether we agree with what they've been doing or not. What matters is, can we serve them? Do we have what they need? Do we have the bandages? Do we have the procedures? Do we have the strategies that will help them to heal? That's relevant. Okay. Relevant has to do with helping people to heal, providing the solutions that people have. If you don't have the solutions that they need, you're not relevant. That's probably the simplest way that I can put that.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. And I think we can't be afraid of like the direction that we're going, that we should lean into it and realize, not that some things are inevitable, but we're going the direction that we're going. So how can we, like you said, be a solution? What problem are we supposed to speak to? I think those are just such important questions. And, you know, sometimes they can seem kind of daunting, but I like how you're breaking it down and giving us steps, and we'll start here. And if you find yourself here, start here. So I really love how you're doing that. I'm going to watch this back myself, but I can't keep up with my notes. Let's see. So when you talk about what you always show up with, when we're talking about looking to the future and how we're supposed to look to a problem that we're supposed to solve, can you give an example? Like, you obviously have expertise in this area of knowing who you are and what you have to offer. So can you give an example of you? Like, what do you always show up with? What was that process like for you?
Sure. Sure. It's crazy. So, and I'll tell it just the way I say it all the time, right? From as far back as I can remember, I have always been put in the place of counsel. Okay. From my friends, as far back as middle school, I don't really remember it too much in elementary school, but middle school, when I started remembering relationships or friendships that I had, my friends would put me in the place of counsel. You know, in other words, I was an ear for my friends. And it wasn't just that they put me in a place of counsel and I would listen to them, but I always had something to say that helped. Okay. I've always shown up with that in every situation, wherever, when I went to college, when I went to Savannah State, same thing. You know, I've always had the ability to have deep relationships with people because of my ability to counsel. And it's not so much to counsel. I found myself in the Word of God one day, and it explained who I was to me. It explained who I was. And I've been reading this scripture for years, right? And it was one of my favorites, one that I would say was one of my favorites. But this particular time, it spoke to me in another way. It's from Isaiah 50, chapter 50, verse 4. It says, "The Lord has given me the tongue of the learned, that I might know how to speak a word in season to those who are weary." Man, this one particular day, it hit me. And it's like I heard the Lord say, that's who you are. And from that moment, I never looked back, because it agreed with everything that I was showing up with. I always show up with an encouragement. I always do. Even when I try and be, you know, I talk about many times I've tried to have pity parties, and it's like, I can't even have a pity party because the word of encouragement is in my mind and in the back of my, and it's like, I can't even, you know, I've been encouraging myself. I don't want to be encouraged right now. I just want to have a pity party, and I can't even do it, right? Because that's a gift that I can't turn off. Okay. So what does that mean for me in this season? What that means is, especially this time, when I look around, I see people who don't know who they are, right? I see people living lives, okay, without knowing who they are, without knowing their purpose. I see people striving. I see people giving up. I see people doing all of the things that people do when they don't know their purpose. And so I become relevant because God has used me as a guinea pig almost. I say this all the time. I feel like the poster child for understanding purpose and destiny. And so it has caused me to be relevant in this time when people need to know who they are more than ever before, right? So, you know, people and purpose, as long as there are people, there will always be purpose. As long as there's purpose, there will always be people on planet Earth. And so that, you know, I'm relevant because of that. So now my gift set, my gifts and my skill set, all right, I've developed it into things that I can offer and give and serve people with. Okay. And because of that, you know, my future will always look like giving. How can I position myself to give that I have to give and that I have to offer? Does that make sense?
It does. Okay.
But it all came back to me really understanding who I am. And I'm going to use a term that I've used before for those of you who are on, who've heard me use this term before, but understanding your but, okay? Your built-in undeniable truth. My ability to counsel or be in the place of counsel with my friends was an undeniable but that I always show up with, whether I want to or not. If I show up, that shows up because it's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
Okay. And so everyone has it. Everyone has a butt. Okay? Some have big butts, some have little. No. But everybody's got a butt. Okay. Yeah. And so, and because I know people don't understand that they have these unique things, you know, there are a lot of people who are motivational speakers and inspirational speakers and all of that. And certainly, you know, I will fall into that category. But, you know, I'm very specific about what I have to offer and what it's supposed to do for and to people. Okay. So, yeah, hope that answered that question.
It does. It does. So you talked about like how, you know, we're in this space where everyone's kind of trying to monetize the gifts that they have, the things that they're considering themselves experts in. And you also mentioned that we have some sort of responsibility to develop our gift and be able to offer it to the world, right? And so I had a question about when we're looking for our purpose, why am I here? What do I have to give? Is that always tied to career? Is your career supposed to be your purpose? I don't know if I'm asking that the best way, but is that tied to your career, or could you be in a job that maybe it's not necessarily what you consider your purpose, but you're doing things outside of that, you know? What would you say about that? Like somebody who's going back and forth between that.
Sure. So there is a thing called profession. Okay. Professionals are people who have studied or worked or developed a certain skill set and attained a certain level of proficiency in that skill set. And they have been either degreed or certified in that skill set, and that makes them professionals. Okay. Usually your profession is what you do, okay, for money, for your career, for your, you know, your livelihood. Okay. And then there is the vocation. The vocation, that's about who you are. Not so much about what you do. It's about who you are. And when you can cause who you are to affect what you do, and that becomes a source of income for you, that's what you want. You don't want to necessarily be doing something that's not really who you are, right? But you're doing it because you developed this skill set, and this is how you make money. This is how you earn your living, you know, but you're unfulfilled because it's not who you are.
Right.
And in other words, you're living a life that's not true to who you are and not true to your real, original, divine gifts that God put you here for. Because remember, let's come back to the question, why am I here on this planet? Are you here to do that, or are you here to do this? You know, you can do that, right, as long as you do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'll go back to the scenario I like to use a lot. You know, if I tell my child to sweep the floor, okay, and they wash the dishes, okay, and they dust the furniture, and they do several things that are amazing things, but they never swept the floor. All I asked them to do was to sweep the floor. I didn't ask them to do all that other stuff. Now, had they swept the floor and done all that other stuff, oh my God, right?
Right.
I have nothing but reward for them. But the fact that they did everything else except what I asked, I can't reward them.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So it is with purpose. We came here for, there is something that brought you here. And that's the part that I harp on that a lot, because I don't think people don't really lean into that.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a specific thing. I am here today because God knew that people would need someone who could help them discover their reason for being on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. You are here because of whatever it is that you're carrying. Okay. And so I believe that with every part of my being, and I've seen it. I've seen the confirmation, the demonstration, the illustration. I've seen it, not just in my life, in the life of others who I know who are living out who they are in the earth.
Right.
And so, yeah, you're either going to believe the hype of the world, or you're going to believe the realities and truth about who you are. You know, look at the things that are here, that are solid. The Bible says in Romans, the invisible things of God are clearly seen through the things that are made. So if your purpose is the invisible thing, the only way to really see it is you got to look at what's made. What's made is you. You got to look at how God designed you. You know, even the parts of you that you don't like about yourself, right? All of it is relevant to what you came here to do. All of it is, right? And so, yeah. All right.
That's good. I don't have anything written here. I'm trying to think. Did we address the topic here? Did we hit on it good? Of the future.
Oh, which one?
Of the future.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's what we're talking. That's what. Yeah. Because here's the thing: when you say certain things, people's minds go to whatever their understanding of that is. Now, if they have no good understanding of it, that's where their mind goes, right? And they process whatever is said to them or whatever they hear based upon the understanding that they have, not really taking into consideration sometimes whether or not that understanding is an adequate enough understanding in order to be able to benefit from the information. Okay, that's why you just don't go to church and listen to a preacher. You go to church to get information that you should take, right? And you use that information to uncover and discover understanding. People say, well, the Bible's confusing. I don't understand the Bible. It's because you're not taking the information and using it to cultivate an understanding.
Yeah.
If you study anything long enough, that thing will reveal its secrets to you. So if you study the Bible will reveal its secrets to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking.
If you study yourself, same thing. You'll discover who you really are. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I was talking with a friend earlier, and talking about how we do go to church and we receive a lot of information, and we always want a new information, but have we taken in what we've already, heard? We receive received the revelation from the pastor, but it's revelation to him. It has not become revelation to us. It's only information to us. And so, you know, I started talking to them about even just all my journals, you know, where we're taking notes of sermons and things. And I'm like, most of the time I never go back to those things. I never go back. And I remember finding myself reading old journals before, and I'm like, I have not applied that yet. It says years later. I wrote that down. It stood out to me in a sermon. It stood out to me, you know, for whatever reason. And I never went back to it. So guess what? I forgot it. And so, you know, even just to your point about that, it's like, I remember you would tell me that when you were reading scripture, you didn't have to read a bunch of chapters. You could really just hone in on one scripture and it would speak to you differently every time you read it. And so I think that's just so major. I think it's like, I don't know what it is about our culture. We just always want more and more. We want new. And it's, you know, we haven't really done all that we can with what we've already received. There's so much information out there. There's so many people you could listen to, and so many podcasts and preachers and so many things. And it's like, I think even just taking that moment, like you said, with just yourself to reflect on things, or, you know, taking a season to I'm not going to receive anything new until I've like really developed what I've already learned, what I've written, those things that I listened to. Let me go back, you know, and I'm somewhat in that space, you know, like, you know, you're looking for something to listen to today. I like listening to podcasts, I like listening to preachers, this and that and the other. But like, I started saving things to go back and listen to, because it's like, you know, you hear it and it's like, it was great in the moment and you really never remember it. And so I just think that's so important, like just for our self-development. What you were saying. So, yeah.
You know, one of the things that I love, and you said something about, you know, what it is about the culture or the generation. What it is we've allowed our appetites to be spun out of control. Our appetites are out of control, right? So we always want more. We always want bigger. We always want better. We always, you know, and most of us haven't learned how, right, to savor what we have right now.
Yeah.
To savor the moment. One of the reasons why I loved Dr. Miles Monroe so much, right, is because he never rushed when he was teaching. Never rushed, right? You'd be there for 3 hours. And some people are like, oh my God, I can't take no more. Man, I would be there. If he was there for 6, I would be there all 6, because he didn't rush. He took his time, right? And he broke it down so that you could understand, so that you could have a way of understanding the practicality of the revelation that he was giving to you. He didn't just give you revelation, well, God showed me this and bum, 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 bum. No, he would break it down so that you would have a pathway to understanding that revelation. But you would have to take it, right, and do your own due diligence with it. You can't just take it because he said it. And that's the way it is with any message. You can't just take it because someone said it. You need to go dig. And what gets me excited when I'm teaching and when I'm preaching is because, you know, I'm saying, look, if you go dig, you're going to find probably something better than what I found. But look at what I found, you know. But yeah, our appetites have just spun out of control. And so, you know, even some things that I'm dealing with and going through myself right now, trying to reel in my appetite, man, you know. And so that goes across the board. Our appetite certainly for food, but our appetite for entertainment, our appetite, you know, for physical things, our appetite emotionally, our appetite, you know, and all of those appetites seem to be stronger than our spiritual appetite. That's the one that many times suffers the most, right? But that's who we are. We are spirit first. That's the essence of who we are. So if we starve that part of ourselves, right, then yeah, we're going to always be trying to get more of everything else because we're starving what really needs to be fed. See? So, yeah.
That's good. I mean, I don't think I have any more questions at this moment. You talked about, you know, coaching, and you gave us some steps, but you also talked about finding a coach. And, you know, we want to assume that everybody on here knows that you are a coach and that that's something that you offer. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Certainly, certainly. You know, I would recommend, you know, I have a, I can be found anywhere, anywhere, not anywhere. Getting Clear with Tim Jones, okay? On Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I have a online platform, school learning platforms called Get Clear Institute. And so part of what we've done there is try to provide some foundational stuff for developing and shaping your thinking, okay, so that you can think in a way that's conducive to your growth. Most people's thinking works against them, right? So even the things that they want to do, they can't really do them because their thoughts betray them. So we have, you know, but again, going back to one of my gifts is poetry, right? And you say, well, how is that a gift? Well, it's a gift because not just because of my ability to write it, but the way I use it, right? I use poetry, we call it motivational poetry. And I use it in a way that it, first of all, encourages the heart, okay? It inspires the will, okay? It elevates the mind, right? Or enlightens the mind and elevates the spirit, okay? Those are the things that the poetry that I utilize, that's how I utilize it, to do one or more of those four things. And so it makes it easy for someone to begin to reset their mind, okay? Reset it back to what? Back to your original standard, original design standard. When you came here with a design to be an absolute success. Not a design to be a failure, not a design to come up short, not a design to be anything less than what you were absolutely created to be. That's the design.
Yeah.
So why would someone not want to operate by that design? Right? No one in their right mind, everyone would want that design. Yeah, I want to operate by that design because it's going to give me my greatest chance of success. It's going to give me my greatest chance of fulfillment. And that's the greater word, is fulfillment.
Right.
So we offer some things like that. I have a personal coaching that I do called Frame Your Splendid World. And it deals with helping to shape this thing here. And, you know, some people think about that sometimes, like it was brainwashing. That's what happens to you every day, is you're brainwashed. Yeah. No, this is brain cleansing. That's a difference. Okay. So yeah, I'd be more than happy. I'd be honored to work with any one of you. I encourage you to go on that site and look for Redefine Your Original Design. It's an audio book that we released last year. It helps to begin to turn your it helps to introduce you to some concepts that will begin to shape your thinking or turn your thinking and aim it towards your original design. Go on there. I think I got some bundles on there that's tied to that particular product. But Redefine Your Original Design. You can get it on getclearinstitute.com. In fact, there's a link to it in my bio, okay, on the Instagram page here. So you can click on that link and go there and just check it out. There's some free tools on there that you can take advantage of as well. And yeah, we would love to be of assistance to you in that way.
Awesome. Thank you. This was good. This was very good. I don't know if there are any questions from the people in the chat. No. If anyone has any questions before we go.
Please ask away. Yeah. Let's see here.
Who's even in here? Well, if not, Hi, Mom. Sorry. If not, if not.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We've got good time spent. And yeah. So we'll be back again in 2 weeks. We do this every other Tuesday. Join us again. Hit me up if you have questions, concerns, something you want to know more about, something that I said that you would like for me to elaborate on more. You would just want to get a little bit more understanding about it. Hit me up. We're more than happy to assist you with helping you to understand what I am saying. Nobody else can tell you what I'm saying better than me. But yeah, so thank you again for joining us. We're going to go ahead and sign off here. And until next time, remember, live full so that you can die empty. See you next time, everybody.
My appointed time. Walking in dominion.